Guys, and welcome to our Legion Comic Special stream. I'm Revengeance, and tonight I got Johnny B. Crazy and Broke Black Man 94 with me. Welcome everybody to the first stream on my channel, first time hosting. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We're going to talk about the Legion comics and how they relate to the show and just intertwined, and what we think is going to happen as far as the show relating to the comics. I'm going to let my co-host introduce themselves and give their shameless plugs. Donnie, you want to go first?
I'll go ahead and take plug. Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny B. Crazy, and thank you, Ree, for having me on. I love talking anything that has to do with geekiness. Check out my channel at Johnny B. Crazy. Do live streams all the time on many different topics. I just want to say I'm pretty excited about this stream and this inaugural event of Ree's channel. I am so happy to be a part of it, and yes, just thank you for having me.
And I am Broke Black Man 94 here, your fellow YouTube reactor of several television shows, including Legion. If you're not watching it, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go DVR it, find it on a pirate website, even though I'm not going to tell you to go there, but hey, if it ends up on your screen, why not click it? Or even on the FX website. I think it's on like Hulu. I know season 1 is, but I don't know. We got to freaking start telling Hulu, like, upload season 2. Because people have to see season 1, have to see season 2, become, a fan of Legion. Because what else? We're doing this stream.
And yes, BBM gets paid by FX, Fox, and Marvel to do all of this. That's why it has so many Funkos. Go ahead, Ree.
Right, exactly. I think I should start collecting Funkos all the time. And yes, definitely. And you can check out Legion Season 1 on Hulu. And I believe Season 2 will be out in November is what they said. I know that they were waiting for the wrap up and just giving it a little time. And yeah, we're not going to condone any pirate sites, but we're not going to say if you see it not to watch, because definitely it is a watch. I know if you have some channels that do have FX or some providers that it is available. I know Sling has a few episodes. Not all of them, but I did catch a couple on there. So if you have Sling, you can watch some of them. Definitely check it out. It is worth watching. We're going to start today by giving you a little bit of the backstory on Legion, also known as David Haller in the TV show and in the comics. He is the son of Charles Xavier, also known as Professor X. You all know him from X-Men movies and comic books. He is the leader and the one founder of the Xavier School for the Gifted Students, or the mutants as we know them. And he's the one who started the X-Men. The reason that he started them, in fact, happened because of the Shadow King, but what that came out was Charles Xavier was in Israel working in a psychiatric ward, and he met Gabrielle Hall, and he was treating her, just suffering and from the tragedy, obviously. And he was using his psychic powers, sonic powers, to help ease their pain and just their suffering and all. Fell in love. He was there with Magneto, actually. You guys also know him as the head of the Brotherhood and just badass in general. And he was there, met Gabrielle Haller, had a kid, did not know he had a kid until he actually came to treat him when he was a teenager, got inside his head, figured out it was his son, and came about that, yeah, that was his kid. He's actually one of the most powerful mutants that we have. He is what we call an Omega level mutant. The Omegas, there's not too many of them. We know like Phoenix, Storm, I would consider one. I don't know that she's necessarily been classified one. There's a few of them. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other story. But the Omega are basically the badass ones. Those are the top ones. Xavier's one. Magneto is definitely one. Anyone that is top level powers and most high level powers. I don't really know how to get farther into that. What would you consider an Omega level, guys?
Well,
Magneto's one, but so you already mentioned like Professor Xavier, Jean, like those are like some mega level powered individuals who could pretty much destroy the Earth if they wanted to. What are you gonna say, Johnny?
Well, I would kind of disagree with that. I think an Omega level mutant is on the plane of universal destruction. That's what I believe an Omega level mutant is, where you can change the universal plane like David. But I guess that is up for debate. I don't know about Magneto being an Omega level mutant. Uh, he does have good powers, but he can be nullified a lot more easy than the other mutants. But we can agree to disagree on that. I just think more on a universal scale is what an Omega is, in my opinion. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, we would definitely argue that, and that's a world destroyer right there. So yeah, we won't get into that one right now though. David also was the only survivor. He was a kid and wiped out his stepfather and the terrorists around him, which was Jamil Karami, I believe is how you pronounced it. He was a terrorist leader and absorbed everyone around him into his mind. He ended up catatonic from this, and that was when his powers manifested. This sent him into where he had DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. Later on, Karami actually helped him to kind of gain control over this and get the other personalities under control. Each of these personas that are in his mind possess a different kind of power. He has everything from telekinesis to reality warping, pyrokinesis. I mean, there's telepathy, shape-shifting, matter manipulation. David can do so many different things. There's one point in the comic books even where he has created an entire universe that he keeps in a box. I mean, David is an ultimate level badass. He is just, this is why we consider him an Omega level, because he literally can destroy and create worlds and realities at just a snap of his fingers. And we see this in the TV show even, where he just literally dusts people at the blink of his hand, the wave of his hand. And it's really kind of awesome, actually. We don't see this with a lot of other mutants. So that's one of the reasons he's one of the most complex characters that we see. So it kind of makes him harder to portray. That's why we haven't seen him in the other movies. He should have been in some of the other movies, like the Apocalypse movie and probably some of the other ones. I would expect him to be in New Mutants even too. How about you guys? What would you put him in as far as movies?
Movies wise, like possibly Age of Apocalypse. Yeah. Even if he would have put him in there, I could see, like, I don't even know if Apocalypse could even handle him. Because he's just that strong that I can even see, like, freaking Thanos himself is even probably having troubles with freaking David at this point. But they could have done, like, a Days of Future Past. It could have been, him causing the whole situation instead of not doing, like, the whole, the Sentinels.
Right.
Even then, you can still even do, like, Age of Apocalypse. But even if you do that, you have to kill Professor Xavier. That's like the only thing that they probably would have implemented.
Right. Yeah. And was it the whole reason that we ended up with Apocalypse Timeline too in the comics?
Yeah, because he was supposed to go back to make sure that his father was, like, back in his life. But in doing so, he thought, okay, you have to kill Magneto. But then he kills Professor Xavier. And because Professor Xavier ain't there, Apocalypse, like, rise to power.
Right, so we ended up with the alternate timeline, which gave us the whole Age of Apocalypse timeline to begin with. So, yeah, we can thank David for that entire movie. David is also part of the New Mutants that we see coming out, too. Go ahead, Johnny.
Oh, yeah, well, I just want to make a point when you were talking about David's powers. He actually has to pull forth people for his powers, and one of the first powers he pulled forth was Karami's, and that's how he was able to obliterate the terrorist. That's when it was sometime after that. I believe Karami was his first power, but something to remember for the show is all of the telekinetic power comes from Jack Wayne, And that's just something to remember about the show. I just wanted to throw that in there. You can talk about Jack Wayne if you want.
Oh yeah, I completely agree there. I think the only one we'll probably flip a coin on is the whole Sydney thing, because I believe you said earlier that you think that Sid on the show is going to be Sydney or Cindy. Sorry.
I think so. It points to that. The pyrokinesis, the way she can't touch him, the way she automatically just acted like she loved him. It was like she was already a part of him. So, and that's the way they made it. Now that I'm saying that, it even makes more sense, because when he went into the water, that's when you see the pyrotechnics and the fire, the basic fire. That's how Clark Debussy gets burnt. And we know no other mutants on the show that have pyrokinesis. And in the comic books, it's Cindy. And it's pretty odd that we would have Sydney in the show, and then you don't really get to see her powers, and things are suspicious with her the whole time. And she says she's one, so that's what leads me to believe it's Cindy. Plus, there's a few other things that just make it seem like she's, I don't know, not real. But we have to remember in the comics as well, if it's not all in his mind, they escaped his mind at some point. So when that happened at Clockworks, possibly Sydney escaped his mind and other people escaped his mind. I know it was later in the Age of X when that happened, or after the Age of X, if I'm not mistaken, when they all left his body. But I think they're kind of like trying to tie it all together, all the comics, and mix it together to confuse us.
Oh, I definitely agree. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I was trying to place it with where it would fall as far as in the comics timeline, and I think I put it like somewhere. It's like after, like Muir Island in my mind now, and like I'm kind of before. Like I'm waiting. Like we were talking about magic earlier. I think we're waiting for magic to pop up now. And that's just where I'm at in my head. I'm somewhere like after Muir Island, but before Utopia. That's just where I'm falling in my comic mind here. Which, yeah, because I'm just thinking that he's already, because his powers have already manifested. I think we might get some backstory into how his powers manifested, maybe through flashbacks and stuff, because we don't see his parents in the show. But I think we may see them where he's already absorbed them, because I definitely think that the personalities that we're seeing on the show are mostly at least absorbed already in his mind, and everything we're seeing is in his mindscape. Which, for those of you who are not familiar with the comics, most of the comics do take place in David's mindscape, which is the really cool part about him and what makes him so interesting, because most of it's happening in his head. You don't, or if it's not in his head, it's in no time, which is like what you guys would maybe think of as limbo, so it gets really interesting. Where you were talking about telekinesis, I keep trying to remember when she used it, and it's just driving me crazy, because in my mind I just do not want to make her Cindy. If anyone on the show, I kind of want to hope that it's going to be Lenny that's going to be Cindy. One, because I liked her when I was a kid, and two, because I just like Lenny a lot better. You know that Sid is like a trigger point for me, and I just, yeah, so it's like, no, not her, just not her. And she was one of David's main personas, along with Jack Wayne and Kwame. So those are his three main ones that are alting out all the time and in control of David. For those of you, again, not familiar, David's personas fight for control, and whatever persona is in control, it's their powers that he's using at that time. And he's usually just pushed to the side in like a box or corner of the mind, trying to gain control again of his own mind and body. So when we see David, it's not necessarily David we're seeing. Back to the show again, when we were talking about when Carrie picked him up and was talking David, and he didn't answer. We were talking about, we thought that was a Jack Wayne maybe persona, and we think we might have already seen him on the show.
Something real quick that I just looked at. Cindy is the hot-headed decision maker in David's mind,
And that
and
totally
that
makes
fits
sense.
Cindy to the T. I mean, Sydney to the T. So
Yeah, because her
yeah.
character pretty much is like the controlling one in the whole relationship. Just look at her own like solo episode in season 2 when Dave was like, okay, I figured something out. She's like, no, try again, try again, try again. Even when it came to like the
I
finale,
know
it's
you
like,
don't like it, Ree.
no
I
one
know,
here.
I don't like it. Oh, I just don't like her on it. She's just a trigger for me. And I just don't like. And I just so like Cindy in the comics. It's like, no, not her. I'm holding and cross my fingers for Lenny. I just want to see some fire come out of Lenny, and I'll be happy.
Well, David wanted her to even like have abilities. Like he probably could like transfer something or even do something, manipulate, reality to make her have abilities. So it could be possible.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. And well, that brings up too, whenever they were in Clockworks, what exactly happened that made the big boom whenever Sid actually did kiss him. So we would know that very well could be it. I hate to admit that, but that very well could be it. So yeah. So let's move on to something else other than for just a moment here. Let's talk about some of the other personas. Let's move on to Jack Wayne, for example. We were talking about where we see him in the show and think we might see him in the show. And in the comics, he's kind of your swaggering adventurer kind of guy. He's pretty cocky, and he's kind of trying to take over control a lot. Even after Cromie sorts things out, him and Cindy actually try and scramble things up again. And at one point, when there's kind of thousands in David's mind, he's kind of trying to lead the way. And do you think that we're going to see that in the show at all?
I think, if anything, you might see like another David persona in season 3, and that could be him, if anything, since he's like the adventurous type. And now that David's out in the world, he might just, pop up, and start taking over. Like in season 1, we just see like David talking to like his like inner conscious, whatever. Before we know that could be like one personality, and then in season 2, we have like another one. We almost had like a god complex to him, and before we know in season 3, we can probably get another one. And it seems like that's how the show is doing it. Like they might just introduce like another persona of David, but instead of like an actual character, it's like just with the face of David.
We've seen him already as portrayed as David's father, telling him the story as the angry boy. In my opinion, he was one of the first. He taught David the birds and the bees. There's a lot of things. He was the major persona in David, the one controlling most everything in his head. And looking back, especially at the storytelling scene, and now I don't know if we saw him at the end, but I know he's there. And I think that's kind of why they haven't revealed his face. But it might be that he doesn't look the same. He just looks like David, like you said. But I do think that was him telling the story to his son, the angriest boy. Because it looked like David.
Yeah, that's one where we disagree too, because I think that's going to be Charles Xavier with the narrator part, because I think where he's sitting there reading the book to him about the angriest boy, I think that's going to end up being an Xavier reference there with the narrator. And I'll tell you why I think the narrator is, because of all the stuff that he's talking about during season 2 and all the facts that we hear and everything. It reminds me of just one of the papers that Charles would have written when he was at Cambridge and stuff. And like we hear even like in the movies, we hear Trask talking about the different papers and stuff when he's in front of, I believe it was Congress or whatever. And he actually read one of them, and he's like talking about the evolution of mutants and the mutant gene and stuff. And it rang familiar to me. And it sounded a lot like something that he would write, especially when they were talking about the Hound and the Tick and stuff like that. It just reminded me of something that we would hear from him. And I just think it's going to be actually his father. As far as Jack Wayne, I do think that we did see him on the show already. I wonder if it's the David with a mustache is what I'm thinking. And we do see other Davids as well later on in the season with the different color shirts when we have red shirt, yellow shirt, green shirt.
just to clarify, you think it's Xavier telling him the story in bed?
Oh yeah, yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah, I don't
I think
think
it's
so.
Xavier telling the story, and I think it's going to be Xavier that's the narrator. That's John Hamm.
But
Starting season 2.
that's the narrator's Dr. Nemesis, but we'll get into that later because
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
For
I mean,
me, I think the person saying the David, I think like one of them at the time was actually the stepfather telling about the stars. But when it came to like the angriest boy, I think that was a Shadow King. So we can actually introduce that one image of him like in his mind, in his memories. But the
but he,
narrator, I think that could be Professor Xavier.
See, I love how we all have different ideas about the same thing. That's what makes this show so great. Oh wow. Like we said before, guys, if you aren't watching this, you really should check it out. It's an amazing show. Even in the comics, if you're in the comics at all, yeah, you've probably already seen it, but check it out if you haven't. Yeah, and speaking of David's stepfather, that actually is I agree with you about whenever he's talking about the stars and stuff, that father, I think that's what's going to happen there. And again too, we haven't seen his mother, but we do know that in the comics he's away from his mother most of the time, but he does end up reuniting with her. So do you guys think that could also happen too?
I would wish like season 3 could hopefully like be like the parent season or whatever, and we can probably get the mother as like hints of even like maybe I highly doubt it, but fingers crossed, like Professor Xavier, at least like somehow like for her to bring up him in some shape or form. But if anything, try to bring her up because we don't really hear that much of like David's mother, in season 1 at all. Not even like bother anything with even season 2. And we mainly have like the mothering figure with Amy, the sister. Like she almost like replaces that role.
Right. I've even questioned whether or not that was her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was. His mother, I can't remember. She was a mutant. She didn't have like outstanding powers, but she was a mutant.
Was she a mutant? I thought she was a regular human.
She was like, I think she was a mutant. I was rewatching something today, and I swear, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. Either way, he does see her again, but isn't it in his mind because he did absorb her at some point, but she's just kind of lost in there, or am I forgetting that wrong? I'm thinking that's how we could see her. Her being, maybe someone locked her away in his mind. One of these other personalities that have been running around, the two crazy ones that we know we have right now. I could see something like that because his mother did tell him something really important in the comic book that really helped him with his head. So maybe.
Well, that's back with in the show too, where with the whole angriest boy thing, what happened with his mother was her head ended up chopped off from the story of the angriest boy. I believe I was talking to you guys before about how I thought that could have possibly actually happened. And with the whole time when David's powers manifested, at least as far as the show story is going with their storyline there, that's something that could have been a possibility when his powers manifested. And that might have been what happened to his stepfather even too, is whenever he it could actually follow the comic books and with the whole terrorist attack and all that. And also again with the comics, the Shadow King didn't latch onto him at birth like with the show. The show just him later, after his powers had manifested, after all this had happened with the rest and all them, when he already had the ID, and it was after that the Shadow King had possessed him. So he wasn't born with the Shadow King stuck on him. So there is some differences between the two. Let's go on and talk about how some of the different personas could actually be related to the show and where we think they might be going and how they might relate to the different people that are already there. Who do you think the guys, like, where are you seeing, like, we talked about how Sid could possibly Cindy. What about the other characters that we see on the show? Do you think that maybe, like, Melanie could possibly be a stand-in for Maura McTaggart or something like that, or any of the other ones.
Possibly the division agent who we see. Is it Clark?
Yeah, I got an
Yeah.
interesting one
He
too.
could be a personality made flesh or so, and just like planted within the vision. That's just communicating with the actual people like Melanie and the two Carries and Platatomy, because like they don't really just parallel to like any of his personalities, but like with Clark, for all we know, he could be a personality if he brought it to life, like he could have done with others. What do you think, Johnny?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking the little girl Sammy, her whole emotion playing deal and how she works in the head, that can kind of correlate to Lenny to me. I don't think they're gonna have a little girl inside David's head in the show. It might be possible, but I don't know. I'm trying to correlate them, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who Lenny is after Reese says that. Now I'm just because I don't think Lenny's Cindy. But Sammy would be possible because, the way they were able to shut down little Sammy's powers was to basically emotionally make her upset. And Lenny seems to shut down. If you can actually get to her, she will shut down. And she seems to like to play on people's emotions just like little Sammy did. So maybe. I mean, see, it's so hard to, you could put many other characters there. I don't know.
Because even like the cartoon series X-Men Evolution, like when they did the whole David episode and the Sins of the Sun, they had like, I believe they did like one of his personalities was a child. So it's like it could be possible if like the show can do that as well.
Was it the little girl's name Marcy? I thought you're talking about the little girl with the doll.
No, they did a different one. So
Okay,
it's like
okay.
the show could possibly do it as well.
Because I remember the little girl with the doll. I don't remember seeing it too much. I remember the little girl with the doll and where they passed the doll around, and it basically whoever had the doll was in control. I could see them doing something like that with not necessarily the little girl. They might not have the little girl with the doll so much, but some kind of object or artifact that they pass around that fighting for control of David, basically, and who was going to do it. And I remember Jack Lane leading that little escapade then.
Like I would wish like the show for like the next season is like, because it seems like David trying to like figure out like who is he? Is he good or is he bad? And this could be like a perfect time for like a personality just to take over, and we see like a different side of David or multiple. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, we could definitely see how it spins off and let the different ones take control, especially when how the whole season ended, because we did kind of see them kind of coming out, so to speak, and not really hiding in the closet, so to speak. The personas were starting to pop out and show themselves more by the end of season 2. So yeah. Which is mine, the whole missing year. Do you think that missing year could have been spent on any of like in any comic book realities, like maybe a Utopia or something like that?
Or there wasn't
that
a
we
missing
will actually
year.
see that.
There wasn't even a missing year, possibly. I wanted just one more comparison. Willie Karami could be, even though I know it doesn't make sense but I was trying to compare Patanomy to someone. I don't know if you had that. I did get off topic though. I apologize.
It's okay. Like you're bringing it back.
We're all over the place right now, right?
Karami, wasn't he like more the rational person, like the personality?
Yes, he was the.
So it would like match up.
He kind of organized everything in there and got stuff right. Yeah, I could say time. So yeah, that's kind of like he was the terrorist guy that David absorbed when he attacked his stepfather. That was the persona he attacked then. And then when they tried to get him out or whatever, they were like, he was like, no, wait, I'm actually trying to help him. I'm trying to fix him. I've got everything organized. I've got the other personas under control. It's just me and Jack Wayne and Cindy now that are pretty much the three that are running the show now. So he had the rest of them kind of caged off, so to speak. And they were trying to get rid of him at that point. And I think maybe they did at some point, didn't they, in the comics? But he had got everything just where David was doing all right. David was doing good for a while. And I believe that they even got his DID under control to where he was just autistic.
Well, in the beginning, he was autistic.
Right.
No, it was after the first
It was after. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
after the first coma. Yeah. Every time he has a bad thing, he goes into a coma, and begs to differ whether he's been in a coma this whole second season. Also, is one of my theories as well.
Like, we never figured out like what he's been doing throughout those 300 and odd days. Like, he says, "Oh, I was in a club. There were trees, you know," and then he was like in that ball for who knows how long.
Yeah. Yeah, the club with no windows.
Do clubs even have windows, honestly?
I know. Oh, I think only really fancy ones, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of want to pitch into that now. I don't really think so. Maybe like little bars or something, but yeah, no, not really. Not anything I can think of. I'm going through different clubs in my head that I've been to, and no, not really. They're usually dark. You go inside, and it's usually like black walls or dark walls with a bunch of lights. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I haven't been clubbing in a long time, but still, yeah, I can't really think of any. And then we get to, and I brought this up before, how I thought maybe Girl Carrie was like a stand-in for Danny Moonstar. Did you guys remember who she was now?
Moonstar, was she one of the New Mutants? Or
yeah, she was.
Yeah.
She was. Yeah.
Yes.
And then that brings me to male Carrie, though. I mean,
Danny Moonstar, if you hear me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danielle. But then that brings us to the male Carrie, and I'm wondering maybe kind of the scientist thing. Now that made me go: is he supposed to be our replacement for Dr. Nemesis? I hope not, because I really wanted Dr. Nemesis.
She's not gonna be in the New Mutants movie, so she might be in Legion.
Yeah, see,
I just looked at it.
That gives me even more hope for it. Yeah. And by the way, everyone with the New Mutants, don't expect to see Arya as like a little Wolverine. She's not a little Wolverine. I keep hearing that, like, oh, yeah, she's turning into Wolverine. No, she's not Wolverine.
Because I think there's like one of the New Mutants they could do. I think, was it Cypher or something? So I know Magic and Wolfsbane, that's like confirmed to be a New Mutant. So I'm guessing they can't really use them. But I think it was Cypher. I think you can use that individual. And I was thinking like that could be like the new love interest for Sid. If they do
Sunspots and New Mutants confirmed too.
If they can like if they can do like a mini time skip of like several months or so just looking for David, she can actually, form like a new relationship with that individual. Like that could be something. But don't mind me, I just do like, pointless shipping in on one show, so just ignore me.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. No, I agree, and you're right, because when you brought up Wolfsbane, because that is going to be who Arya is, because I was like, okay, no, she's not a Wolverine, she's a wolf. Y'all are close, but yeah. Cypher, and that's another good one to bring up too. And then you said Magic. Magic, I could see Magic now, maybe. We were talking about Magic earlier, because we were talking about Hervey Ann Colossus' little sister. And I could definitely see her ending up in there. And I believe we talked about in the stream before Destiny popping up. I'd like to see Destiny show up. She's actually quite involved with David in the comic books, and because of her involvement, we see Mystique pop up, we see Rogue pop up, and it's kind of like just a chain of events, all because of Destiny. Are you guys hoping to see something like that happen? I mean, I know they're in the movies, but they could like cast new people to play them. I know that. just as a newer version of them for the TV shows. Do you think anything like that would happen, especially with Rogue? Because she's kind of involved. I mean, we already know they're going to have to recast someone for Charles Xavier anyways, and he's bound to pop up. He has to. It's David's father. But what about the other ones?
With Destiny, they haven't done her in any of the movies, so they could be possible with that. And if we're still going to be dealing with the whole future aspect of, okay, David's going to become evil and, you know, create that one future, because we still don't, like, there's not, like, total confirmation if, you know, in the future he's going to, like, create an apocalypse. So it's like they could, you know, if David wants to like meet like a Destiny or someone who can like see the future, whatever. If he chooses not to like travel back in time, that would just be like another individual there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, I lost my dang train of thought. There we go. Usual Johnny. As far as magic goes, I want to see her with the side blade, tearing up all those personas, just slicing them all in David's chaotic mind. That would be so awesome on screen. And one thing to note, a place in David's mind is a desert, just like the one we've seen in season 2. I think that's something interesting to note. I can't remember what the desert's called, but when Maggie does go in there, she finds David trapped like in a box, like he was kind of when kind of trapped in his own mind. And I believe she kills Jack Wayne, but I don't know if she like permanently kills him. I don't think she does. Was that breaking up?
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, but I got a lot of that
goodness.
there.
Yeah, because you're talking about where David was in a box or not, and then she killed Jack Wayne.
Yeah, that was the gist of it. I just like to see her go through there with the side blade, you know, finding him in the box.
Fetish for blades, I see.
Thunderstorm, sorry everyone.
Oh yeah, it hit hard here earlier, so yep, we understand. I think it's raining longer there than it did here, though. Yeah, no, I definitely want to see that. I want to see that side blade so bad, and it was such a huge part of just David's story in general. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see something like that. I kind of think we might have seen it in the multiverse or multi-David verse, I guess is a better way to say it, episode when Carrie killed one of the David personas with it, the pyrokinetic one, the homeless one, or some version of it. And something else, you brought up the desert. Did you guys notice when they were in, I believe it was at Summerland, just some of the backgrounds around there? It was almost desert-like. It reminded me of like walking around in a museum or something, how you see like the little animal displays where it shows like the little habitats and stuff, and some of them were it was like a desert. It was just different little habitats in the windows around the walls and stuff. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, but that's a cool little tidbit to check out.
I swear every time I'm on the stream I gotta rewatch another season.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and you brought up the God mutant earlier too. You said something about that, BBM. There was actually a God mutant that is one of his personas. Yeah, he said something about that. Just kind of slid it in there. I meant to bring it up, but there was actually a God mutant that was inside his head that Magic made a deal with, and kind of kept it on the hush hush. And she actually brought David back, and I believe it was Rise of the New Mutants, and she brought David back then because of the deal she made with this God mutant inside of his brain, and just so that she could go up because she wanted to fight against the Elder Gods. So the fact that you guys remember when he was talking about believing in stuff, and he believes in an actual mutant on the show, and maybe even probably the Elder Gods. Because to me, this is leaning more and more towards Magic showing up all the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all go for it. I'm having some internet issues. I will jump in as soon as I can.
Can you please like repeat what you were saying, Ree? Because like the whole thing, it was like
Okay. Where David, at one point we have where David is actually brought back by magic. The reason that she brings him back is because she made a deal with one of his personas, which is actually a god mutant. One of his personas is, which has kind of been laying low and has been making itself known in there. But she makes a deal with this persona because she wants to go up against the elder gods. And then and this is one of the times when David is just kind of wiped out and he's gone. And she brings him back into existence pretty much. So that he can trigger this god mutant inside of him, this persona, to go up and fight against God. Do you guys think that we might actually, and he's already got this little God complex going. We've already seen it when he's talking to Lenny. He's already starting to think like he's a god and realize his powers are godlike. Do you think that could be that God mutant persona inside of him starting to show itself? Because to me, this is already starting to lean more towards magic. This is more confirming that we're going to see magic show up.
yeah, because that's like the lead. I'm not sure if it calls itself Legion or something. I do know it's like
The
a god
Legion.
person.
It is
Yeah,
the Legion.
exactly. So
Legion.
that could be
Yeah.
one personality that's right there, because up until then it's always been like Farouk saying like he's a god, but David never like referred to himself as a god. He seemed like almost like he realized he's a powerful mutant, but never to that point of a god complex. And then next thing you know, we hear this one inner consciousness or full personality talking about, yeah, you're a god, dude, so like do something about it. So it could be possibly they could go that route.
What
Could
if
they include
the
magic?
Legion?
Maybe not. Maybe not. But if there's ever gonna do like a final season, like I wish that they could actually do that, and this could be like the first hints to it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I hope they don't even wait till the final season, and I hope they bring it up before then, because to me, there's so much more they could do that beyond a final season with him.
Because it seems like they're trying to do
Could
like
I-
a whole redemption arc with David. So it's
Look,
like I can see it ending with that. As you were saying, Jada, keep interrupting you.
no, I got something really important that I just thought about. You know how we saw the glimpse of the David with the 2-foot hair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He got that when he first came out of his coma. That's why I think he's definitely freaking in a coma the second season or something, because all the trauma from them trying to help him in his brain and everything, he ended up coming out with the mixture of the personalities, and he took on like physical traits of Jack Wayne and such. So, yeah, I think that one little bitty clip was foreshadowing that possibly the entire second season is in his head, or he's in a coma and he's still experiencing these things and he can still astral project. Does that make sense? And try to do things, because this happens all the time in the comics. One of his actual personas does get out and doesn't need a physical body, and they can barely defeat him because he's almost indestructible. So, oh yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole now. Go ahead, go with that one.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause it
no,
does
you
seem that
actually
way.
reminded me, because at one point he doesn't create a whole I don't even like a whole I don't even know what to call it. But he create this whole place where all of his personas get their own bodies at one point in the comics, so that they can actually come into existence outside
They
of his brain.
escape. Yeah, they escape. I can't remember exactly how they escape, and they get physical bodies. I don't remember if they inhabit other people's bodies or they just become physical once they escape. But yeah, that does happen.
Right.
Because it normally happens like during like a stressful period or some type of traumatic event with David, and that's when everything like goes amiss. Because there are times when you actually get like certain personalities under control.
His wristband. Have you used his wristband?
The wristband?
Yeah, he's
the
like got this
watch.
watch-looking thing on.
Yeah,
yeah. It reminds me of his. I wrote it down. Hang on. The neural switchboard wristband that he had. which basically what that did was it gave him control so that he could decide, okay, I want to control this persona to come out and do whatever, and he could control them when he wanted to and call on which one he wanted to. So I'm wondering, I did notice that Sid had one on too, but this brings back the fact that she's in his mind. So even if she's in his mind, that would explain why she had one on, because she's not really actually there, or she's under his control, and he brought her into that existence at that time. But it made me wonder if maybe that's what he's doing and calling upon the different ones to come around, and maybe Carrie's actually made it for him to start where he can have some kind of degree of control,
Carrie playing the role of Dr. Nemesis a little bit. I kind of can see that.
Exactly.
And the other Carrie having a little rogue aspect. And also with the maybe. But see, now that we have
with the hair.
Yeah. Vivian pointed that out to me.
Hair too.
Yeah, because it was episode 2, was it? Where we see that strain of hair, and that's the show doing the nod of, Rogue. How Rogue's aunt, who raised her since the mother was supposedly passed away, but something else happened to her. Her name is Carrie, so that was a little play on the show there. The comics.
Oh, good call, yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that makes me curious as to who her parents really were, I mean, it talks about that her mother was an actual Native American, and her father left, so whenever she had the little white boy baby, instead of the little Native American girl. So who was her mother really, at least on the show? And how will that relate to, Legion as a whole? Because we know, as far as the comics goes, that brings into the play, Destiny and Mystique, and that's how we ended up with Rogue. And Rogue is a huge, huge part of Legion. At least as far as the comics books go.
Yeah, she absorbs people like David does, but she doesn't use their powers. So that's
she actually gets trapped in his mind at one time too,
and comes out with more powerful. Actually, getting a taste of Legion's power, as she says.
Yep. And then didn't she tell us too that the more personas were being born all the time, even while she was in there.
And that's when you have to feel sorry for David. It's in his own way, it's he has his own version of schizophrenia, but not really schizophrenia. So it's it's these multiple personalities just being born every day, or even every hour, a second, and they're all having abilities, and he's become even more powerful.
Right.
Not to mention he absorbs people that die around him. So he's making new personas, absorbing personas. And then, I mean, that's why I think that whole scene we saw with the whole multiverse episode, that was just a look into his mind before he went into Clockworks. I still stand by that until I'm proven wrong.
Oh, yeah. No, it definitely was. It definitely was. I agree with you there, because I think that was given us, and like we were talking about before, the normal David, where is he at? We didn't never see what happened to him. Remember, it was it showed a sort of normal David with the wife and the kids, but it was the only ending we seen to that timeline, I guess you could say, was the baby at the end. You guys remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, David is his own father, or so that still makes me think Jack Wayne.
I like that.
That makes me think Jack Wayne was playing his father still. That makes me still believe more that Jack Wayne was reading in that book, because he had to help. Jack Wayne had to help him cope with the Night King. Not the Night King, freaking Shadow King as well. Got Game of Thrones on the brain. So, and the Shadow King, and when he was in David's mind, did have to deal with Jack Wayne. So it kind of makes sense. It makes sense, but I could be wrong. It could be anyone.
Well, if it is his own father, it's if there's an event where he actually does end up killing Professor Xavier, he can try to make sure he creates himself. to make sure he's not wiped from existence.
Yeah, see,
you
I
know-
could see that too, but Professor Xavier, see, I guess they wouldn't give it away by giving him a British accent, but
I know, right? Wasn't that one of his personalities? Gives out a British accent.
When he did that,
Yeah.
I love that. That was like one of my favorite moments because he nailed that so perfectly too. Patrick Stewart was somewhere going, he did that great. That was
yes.
Let's see. Let's talk about some of the different. Okay, let's talk about the obvious because we're talking about Charles Xavier here. So let's talk about the obvious. We know that Legion actually goes against the X-Men, and the X-Men then go against Legion and help each other out. And they stopped him a couple times even. So we know we're gonna see some X-Men at some point. They're gonna pop up. It's inevitable. So what's your take going to be as far as their involvement in the show? What do you think is going to happen?
I think this is like the perfect time for them to actually make an appearance. Well, at least not like the main cast or so that we keep on seeing in movies or so, but some X-Men team, because if David's like going to be like the big bad, and if they're going to continue with the Shadow King, but I'm not 100% sure on that because it hasn't been confirmed whether or not he's returning. So it's like there has to be someone powerful or bring in more people to combat David. And what other way just to bring in an X team? So far, we're not getting Professor Xavier so far, unless he's like the narrator. But we really need the X-Men in
there. Definitely. Johnny?
Yeah, that's really the only people that could ever corral David. And they never really did a great job at doing that. And when they did, he always ended up in a coma. So it's we're going to have to see them, whether it's some... they could do it without him, but I feel like it takes so much away from the story, from David's story, that he's not involved there somehow. And the way the show is shot like a movie would be shot, and shot like a comic book. But it lends so well to not becoming a movie, but characters from a movie popping in, or a character from the show popping in a movie, because it's that well done. And New Mutants would be the best one for it to connect with, because they're both dark sci-fis. And I mean, David and the New Mutants have a super connection. So I don't know. It's hard for me to know. I don't think they're going to do the X-Men. I want them to, but I have a bad feeling we might get a cameo from Professor X. But it will be short or it's something. But I don't see the X-Men. I don't see
the
it.
very last episode, you hear the narrator's voice, and then it's going to turn, and the camera's going to pan out to that Mad Men actor bald. And bam, that was Professor X the whole time.
Wake up, David.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we love the him. He's great. He's great in everything he's in. He's really actually funny. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him. He's hilarious. He likes to cut out. He would great on there. See him just doing really well on that show. I really do hope he joins. My take on the X-Men, I agree as far as New Mutants, and that's the fun of it, because if they incorporate the New Mutants on there, they're actually just wide open, because they can put anyone they want to on there, because it's like a blank canvas right now. They don't have to, really, because come on, they don't even have to include Wolverine or any of those. Logan does not need to be a part of this timeline. He can be off somewhere doing something else. They can include the whole Colorado, where was it, Westcliff, I believe. They could include people from there. They can include the ones in Muir Island again. Please no more McTaggart. I am so overseeing her everywhere in every movie. She does not need to be in any more timelines. Please don't bring her back again. But the other mutants, like I've been talking to you guys about the twins a lot, and I still need to look up their names. But I remember the twins. I remember them controlling David's mind for a while, and just kind of messing with his head.
CoHosts?
Yes, you remember them? See, I couldn't think of their names. Yes,
Yeah, from
thank
The
you.
Gifted. I don't think they can do it since they're going to be on The Gifted now. It's like,
Well, okay, now you're bringing up The Gifted, and we are definitely going to have to do a stream on The Gifted because, Johnny, I'm waiting on you to watch it now. I'm waiting on you to watch it.
I'll binge. We got the
Watch an
STFU
episode
room.
a day. An episode a day.
I watched it like all of them. I finished I had 2 episodes left because I fell asleep. That was it. I was like, okay, I'll go back and finish it now. And I'm like, how long do I have to wait for the next season? Oh hell. But yeah, see, even they could incorporate them now too, because there's some of those that they could bring over from there. At least I think so. And I seen where they had actually talked to Stephen Moyer, who was, for those of you guys that don't know, if you watch True Blood, he was Bill on True Blood. And he's on The Gifted, which is really good too. Yes, okay. Who was Rogue, so that's kind of funny. Yeah. I guess they just want to keep it all in the family with Marvel, huh?
Exactly.
Right? Imagine it's fun at their house. But and they're in real life too. So that's hilarious. But on there it was kind of funny because I seen where he was talking and people are thinking this now that he is, because of what he said, it's putting Legion behind and the Gifted in between there and Logan. And then I'm watching Legion going, no, Legion is definitely not in the past because, again, we've seen the cell phones. And if you pay attention, there's a lot of very future. And if you look at the comics again, that's not happening. Especially with his age, it does not fit any timeline. David would definitely be that old in a future timeline. Because if we look at comics, he's like a teenager in most of them. So there's no way at all. I don't see it happening. It's not in the past. I can't see that. But someone told that that's how it was happening because something that he said. I don't even, I'm not going to quote it because I don't even remember it now. But that it was something that he said talking about the next season.
If they're gonna do like the 10-year time skip or 13, I forgot like how long was that conversation they had between Melanie and Oliver, but it seems like if the show was supposed to be in the 80s, it has to like come back in the 90s then. They're gonna do that whole time skip thing.
Well, even if you look at the kids in the club, even what they're wearing and stuff is mostly kind of in any situation actually, because you see them a couple times with just like the club looking things, like when Sydney was 15 or 16, I believe, and she was out partying and stuff. She was in a mosh pit. Come on. She's not going to be in a mosh pit back in the 60s. They just didn't have them back then, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's and then you put the future. But if you look at their clothes and stuff, that's something that they're wearing that could kind of fit in any timeline. I could see it in the past. I could see it in the 90s, which is still past, but 60s. I could see it in the 90s. I could see it in the present. I could see it in the future. It's just stuff that kids would wear to a club at any time. You know, I mean, how they're dressing, how they're acting. It's just kind of, it's very versatile. So I just
dresses like he's from the 2000s.
The what?
Like how he dresses. David dresses like he's from the 2000s. Like he's a millennial. He has the long sleeve shirt with the t-shirt, regular semi skinny jeans. He doesn't have. It's not the style of clothes doesn't really fit. He doesn't have the super skinny jeans, but the pipe cut or whatever was popular right around that. Not about 10 years ago, I would say. Yeah, that is an interesting point. I never really even paid that much attention to it. And I was going to ask you, did you say BBM Emma Frost is hinted at in the Gifted?
Yeah, she's into because like the Cuckoos is supposed to be like it's tied in with her. I'm not sure if it's clones of Emma Frost or
they're called the
Cuckoos or clones.
Something. Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny name. Dang it, I can't remember it.
And there's
But yeah,
actually 2 more of them that were missing. There's 5 cuckoos altogether.
Yeah, but the show is like only doing like
Kiki is
3 of them.
expensive.
So
And
it's,
just to bring that up, they recast her, if you think about it, and they also recast Blink. Blink was in the movies, and so was Emma Frost. So we've already got 2 confirmed recasts. So that is possible for even Legion.
then again,
So
like
we
that
could
version of Emma Frost was like a younger version. Actually, no, yeah, it was like a younger version, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we had January Jones playing her before in the
Mhm.
movies.
Then like an older version was in Days of Future Past.
Yep, when they was doing the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yeah. Which brings up the Hellfire Club. Let's bring them up now.
Or you can do the Hellfire Club, honestly. and
Yeah,
like,
they were actually supposed to have a show of the Hellfire Club that was coming out, but for some reason they decided against it. My idea of why they decided against it is because of their incorporation in with it between Legion and even the Gifted. Is because they're bringing it into the other shows, because it definitely could pop up in the Gifted, especially considering that David spent some time with a few of its members at one point. Wasn't he trapped with what's his name? Kevin Bacon. Oh my goodness. You know who I'm talking about. He was Black King. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. He was like the main guy in the Hellfire Club too. It's like right there on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I wish I could remember it. Just Googled it on my phone, but it went battery dead.
I know, and I know it because it's like the main guy. He's like the main guy of the Hellfire Club too.
Because it's interesting.
Come on, Milt. I know you know this one.
They can do a different take on it. Because I know, like, I remember like the X-Men and the Wolverine, like they had the Hellfire Club, and they were pretty much controlling the Phoenix Force. So in this show, if they ever can do it, they pretty much would try to control David at this point. It would not a perfect time when David is no longer with the Vision. Sebastian Shaw, there we go. Like Milt, thank you.
Sebastian Shaw. That's it. And he was with him and Donald Pierce. Donald Pierce was the one from Logan.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. And although we didn't see the Hellfire Club on Logan, but he was in the Hellfire Club. And David was with all of them on Utopia, I believe it was. When he was imprisoned by Danger. I'm remembering stuff. See, I got your little wheels turning. I like that. Thank you, Milt. You're awesome. Milt is full of knowledge, guys. I love him. He's great. Anytime Milt starts talking, I suggest everybody listen because he knows his stuff.
Shout out to Milt. He'll be on my channel tomorrow. Thursday at 5 Central. Milt. Yeah, you know who Milt is. Hashtag blame Milt.
And check out the trivia. Citadel trivia, guys, every Friday night. Oh, yeah, definitely. And speaking, who was the other one that was with them too? When they were all captured. It was a girl. There was another one that was there with them too. I don't remember. Okay, let's move on from that one. But yeah, so that brings into play the whole Hellfire Club there, though, and that aspect on Legion, you know. And I was talking before about where Clockworks could possibly be, and if it's one of possibly like supposed to be Muir Island, or I don't think it's Utopia. Utopia was supposed to be a good place and it wasn't. Utopia actually Alcatraz in the comics? Wasn't that where Magneto had turned Alcatraz into like a little safe haven for all the mutants?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're not talking about Genesis. It's about a different one.
Right. So I can't see them being like Clockworks being there. Plus, where we see Clockworks, if you look in the wall and the station room and everything, you see all the different languages and everything. It gives off more of a European vibe. So, yeah, I don't see that being it. But in the Hellfire Club, just to give you guys a little bit of background, it's actually based on a real thing too that was in, I believe, England is where it started. Just kind of think of kind of like the Illuminati, but not Illuminati, especially in the comics. That is something totally separate. But it's kind of like an aristocratic sort of group, and they're all about. They will stomp on you. They don't care if you remember or not. They will stomp on you to get what they want, run you over, and burn you to the ground. They don't care.
Oh, they
But
have
you
some
have like the different.
very interesting
Go ahead, John.
sex and satanistic rituals too that have been uncovered. And Ben Franklin was a part of the Hellfire Club.
Was
So
he
it's
really?
Kanye.
Kanye?
Yep.
I can see Kanye, really. Come on. That's something that he would be after anyways. He's just thirsty like that. Oh my God. Come on. He married Kim. You know he's a thirsty motherfucker. Okay, sorry, I'm moving on. Oh, that's a whole nother can of worms right there. Oh. Anyway, yeah. He done messed up his mama that bad. Oh Lord help him. Oh. Okay. Yeah. He you know he's hating life though. Come on, he's in just Kardashian hell now. He's going, what I do. I should have went on home. He's got himself in a world of trouble. He's going, I don't blame you, Lamar. I don't blame you. Oh, okay. But yeah, but they're very aristocratic and just stuck up, and they're all kinds of just 50 shades of fucked up. Just put it that way. And they've got what they're, kings, white queens, black kings, black queens. And I think Magneto was actually the only gray king they ever had, that I remember at least. I don't even remember a gray queen. I mean, I don't know if you'd consider when they had Jean Grey as one. I know that they tried to incorporate Jean Grey at one time because like a reincarnated like Lady Grey sort of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't that kind of tying into the plot of Dark Phoenix there? Yeah, there you go. I see it now where Milk's talking about it with Mastermind.
Yeah.
And I fully expect to see that in the Dark Phoenix movie, actually. And the whole Hellfire thing, that might also be another reason why we didn't get the TV show of Hellfire Club, because they want to put it in the Dark Phoenix movies.
It seems like that's what they're doing on The Gifted, though, ain't it?
Right. That's what I thought.
Isn't that just like the major players? I'm guessing they're going to put them in the movies, but like we're getting like the secondary leaders and such, like on the show.
Right. And we've only ever heard to them before as like the inner circle with the cartoons and stuff like that, because they didn't want to say Hellfire on a cartoon, obviously, but so they were referred to as the inner circle.
Oh, that's what they did in Wolverine?
Yeah. Yeah. So the only time we've ever heard of them referred to before, I mean, other than in the movies with Sebastian Shaw and Kevin Bacon and all that. But in the cartoons, they were brought up, but it was always as inner circle, which was basically the elite in there, for those of you guys that don't know. In the Hellfire Club, the elite, the leaders, the top of the top in there, were the inner circle of the Hellfire Club. And there were a lot of members in there. I know Mystique. Oh man, there was a lot of Magneto, like I was talking about before. Sebastian Shaw, he was a black king. Where we were talking about Emma Frost, she was a white queen. Yeah, there was a lot.
Mr. Sinister. Yeah, I think
Mr.
brought that up and Milt got mad.
It seems like from what the rumors say, and after credit scene, it's supposed to be Mr. Sinister.
I think where Milt was talking about Trump as the leader, I think Trump wishes he was the leader of the Hellfire Club. He wishes he was that badass.
You're implying that there's some sort of badassery, but that's all I'll say.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of badass people in the Hellfire Club, and Trump is not one of them. Oh, he wishes he was that badass. No. And there is some badass ones in the Hellfire Club. Come on. Anywhere where Magneto goes is badass. I'm just going to say that right now.
Facts.
I'll stand by him every day of the week.
I can do what he does with a hammer and a crane.
Oh, I'm convinced if I was ever like in an X-Men movie, I would so be like in the Brotherhood. I would not be an X-Men. I would be in the Brotherhood.
Why not?
Hands down. Hands down. Screw the X-Men. I'm right there with Magneto. Oh. I don't know. I just like him better. I don't know. I just like him better.
Charles Xavier
is
always gets
great,
everyone killed
but-
because he won't kill anyone, so he gets everyone else killed.
Right? I don't even remember him ever like killing one person ever, and I can't even remember who it is.
Well, we thought he killed Farouk, but that that
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, see how that went. No, I remember him with a gun at one point. Like he shot somebody, and I can't even remember who. And yeah, remember that kid that was like all screwed up? Oh, the one that was really awesome. And after it was
David,
from the
I
last
think his
Will
name
and
was
Testament.
David.
The other awesome
No.
kid.
It was from the last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier, and it was when he died. And that kid, oh man. I was just thinking about this kid yesterday, and I actually watched the video on him, and it was about just how he was for real. He was like beyond Omega level. He was just that powerful. And it was after Charles died that, again, he had suppressed his powers basically. So when Charles died, all his powers just started manifesting and going crazy, and they were all just trying to stop him basically. And it took, I forget who it was, but someone went back in time and had to go, look, you got to stop this kid. And they figured out, and I kind of hate to say how Charles died, but Charles kind of seeing how he died and everything looking into her mind. And it took Charles telling Charles, look into my mind and see what's going to happen to stop the kid, And he was just that powerful. Oh, that's going to bug me. All right, y'all talk for a second. I'm going to look this kid's name up now.
But as Ree is going to
talk
be
amongst
looking it
yourselves.
up, like Johnny, what do you think will happen if like we ever see like a David and Professor X on screen in the show? Like you think David's going to like be like open arms or going to be like resentful, like he wasn't around?
No, I think it's gonna happen. I think he's gonna kill his father. Then he's gonna have to go back in time. And that alternate timeline or whatever is gonna be created. I don't know. I think he's gonna. I don't know. See, I don't know. It's. There's a few things that they could do that would be really interesting, and we don't know how much they're messing with time at this point. There could have been no time past this whole season for all we know. So, and we know from one of his powers, what's the guy's name? He can control time. So, it's time sync. He has time sync inside of him. Mm-hmm. So, at some point, that's going to come out, and that's the powers he calls forth to turn back time. And we know he's going to have to do that because it seems the world is already destroyed 3 years later, if we are to believe what we see, because every opening is apparently on Legion, or last time maybe on Legion, or...
And we hear about the delusions as well. Mm-hmm. It's telling us about delusions from the beginning.
And they can always pull a Dragon Ball Super, and if anything happens to one world, David can just, since it's like those multiple worlds theory, they can just poof everyone into that other universe, and just like everyone has a doppelganger at this point.
A doppelbot. Oh,
remember it's a doppelbot. We're not watching Westworld. That's on Mondays, guys. Well, Westworld's on Sunday. The stream is on Monday. I remember the kid's name. It's Matthew Malloy. I didn't even have to look it up. I went to go Google it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember now. But Matthew Malloy was the kid's name.
I'm drawing a blank still on the kid's name.
Matthew,
I know.
Wasn't he was in the movie. You're talking about in the movie, right, too? Wasn't he in the movie, too?
No, I'm talking about the comics. I'm talking about the comics. I don't even remember.
His name as Striker's son. Was that? That's who I thought you were talking about because you broke up on me. But wasn't his name David too? It makes me wonder if.
Oh yeah.
That's why I said David earlier, because I thought that's what you were talking about in the movies with
the one that was in the wheelchair.
Yeah, and he had the two different color eyes. I don't know. I thought that was
Yeah. Oh, I want to go back and watch that now. Yeah, because I forgot all about that kid. No, I was thinking about Matthew McCoy. I forgot all about his son. And for some reason, I want to like mix X-Men movies up and like be like, oh, that's Angel. Oh, wait a minute, Angel is in a different movie. Because I always remember Angel from the other movie.
Because they have like
and
two
where he
different
flew out the
angels
window.
now. Yeah.
Remember?
Last Stand and then Age of Apocalypse. But I think Age of Apocalypse is canon now. Angel.
So, Angel is like on a few of them though. Angel died on one of them, didn't he? Yeah. But then we see him come back later. That's on all timelines. If we actually look at the different movies, there's like 3 different timelines. It can be like 3 different timelines.
I know there's 2 timelines. One of the first X-Men. I'm not sure if the second and third one are in canon. I know the third one's not. I think the second one isn't as well. I think just the first movie, the X-Men Origins, maybe not. Because I know they deleted off a lot of movies and just like redid them. Not redid them,
it's really crazy. It's like how it did it, and I had to like see it laid out before I was like, okay. But it's like how it did it. It's like where they went back in future past. It created the third one, which was like an alt, and it went back to like off the first or second one, and it connected back to there to create the third one. I remember.
I think the Wolverine Origins is no longer canon.
That one's
Wolverine isn't canon either because in that one. Jean Grey was supposed to be dead, but she's alive now, so that's no longer there.
As Deadpool would say, which timeline is this, McAvoy or Stewart?
Right. Oh. Then we get the answer in Deadpool 2. So interesting.
Okay, guys, bear with me for just a second. I'm gonna run downstairs and grab my cord for this before I lose it. I want you guys to talk a second about who you'd like to see pop up in the show as far as from the comic books.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Cypher. Like, again, if you're going to include like the New Mutants in here, we need like more people on the team since with Totemi is pretty much out in action unless he's going to be doing something with like not the Matrix or just, the mind of Admiral Fukuyama with the Vermilion. Other than that, like Professor Xavier, obviously, and that's pretty much about it, really. Like for you, Johnny, you got any people different, or he's gonna copy my answers as well?
Well, I copy you, and I don't know. I think we're gonna see. I just don't know.
I would like to see more personalities. Like, are there any personalities you'd like to see?
Like maybe Sally, the Hulk personality. Then we have Chain, pretty weird and interesting. He touches someone, and then every time he basically is like a virus, and he has a different weapon every time. But freaking Sticks would be awesome to see.
That would be crazy. The dinosaur with the clock. Or a face.
Or Endgame.
That would be crazy if they actually did that on the show. Oh, there was something I was supposed to look up. Because remember we see the cow, and I forgot someone actually got the answer for that, and I forgot to write it down.
What about Tyrannix? Green globule, has tentacles on his face. It's a telepath, a regular choice for Legion.
Oh yeah, I think we'll see a lot of telepaths. There's going to be a lot of psychic battles going on.
I'm just curious if we're going to see Farouk again. I have to after this streaming, I look up, see if they're going to conclude him with the next season.
See, that's where I think that the X-Men will come in, because in the comic books, we had the X-Men beat him. They had to call them in to defeat him.
Mm-hmm.
Bear with me, I just spilled tea.
Because if not, then maybe
But I got my
Shadow
cord.
King is going to face.
Sorry, I just had to run
Professor
downstairs
Xavier
and run
again.
back upstairs.
That's okay. Either way, we can. We got lots more research to do.
Yeah.
We'll be hitting an hour and a half here soon, so we can get a big old, or we can go longer, whatever you want to do. But we're close to an hour and a half, just so you know.
But Ray, who do you
David
want
was
to see on the
actually in
show,
the
though?
Apocalypse time too, and he's actually been up against the Sentinels. We haven't seen no Sentinels yet on Legion.
Mm-mm. There's been on like what is it, the precursor to the Sentinels on the Gifted with
Right.
Sentinel
Well, we
services.
see
We see like
services,
yeah. So it's like a precursor there that they're doing like machines.
And we see Trask too. Trask is definitely involved in the Gifted.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen them yet on Legion either. My wonder, as far as they're concerned, is, well, I definitely think we'll see a version of them. And I wonder if Division 3 and Division 2 and 1 too is a part of Trask Industries. Any thoughts there?
Because remember, like Division's like, from what I remember, this huge organization, and they just created that one section that they started working with the mutants down at Summerland. So if we know there's like other divisions sections that we haven't like touched upon yet. And now since we're going to dealing with
science.
David, so it's like, okay, now we have to like go to a different branch. And they might even get rid
the
of
more you say it, this whole damn first 2 seasons are in his head. The more you say that stuff, all of this is in his head, man. Summerland wasn't part. How did Melanie or no one know they were working for the same people? I mean, how did they?
They didn't know they were working. They weren't always working with Division though.
Yeah,
were
no, they weren't originally. Summerland, I think, might have been in his head completely. My question there is, what happened to all the other mutants?
True.
Something's weird. Something's really off, man. Because, you know,
they went to the mansion. That's what happened.
They skipped over what happened so fast that it's very fishy. You know, there's no reason for them to be all buddy all of a sudden and then just give us this 5-minute, not even a 5-minute montage of what the hell happened.
Yeah, they were just arguing, and then they were like, okay, we're cool now. But I think it's more of like an enemy of my enemy is a friend situation. Like they had no other choice but to team up with them. And I think after like the whole Shadow King situation is over, which it kind of was, they still focused right back on David, which was their true objective. Like in my opinion, that whole situation, I don't even think that they're even gonna like, you know, quote unquote, put David back in, you know, Clockworks and try to get him better. If anything, they were probably gonna kill him.
Yeah, I mean, to quote one of my good friends, the enemy of my enemy is still a bastard. So.
Oh, I like that. See, and I always thought that it was they're kind of using him, like they're sitting there, and I think that some of the people are actually real people. He might actually kill them and absorb them at some point, but I think some of them are real. Like I think Lenny was real. I think Sid was real. I do think he absorbed at least Lenny, which we know that part. And then she did get a body back later, thanks to Farouk. But I do think some of them were real. But I think that they started to use him and kind of play with his mind. And maybe even they did try to fix him maybe at one point. And then maybe they're trying to use him now to manipulate him, to use him more, weaponize him, I guess, maybe. To use him towards their own agendas, which brings me back to what's their agenda. And if we go back to if they're part of Trask, or if there even is a Trask Industries anymore, we don't even know that they still exist. In this whole time period, in this reality, rather, we don't know that there is a Trask Industries because we haven't seen the mutants on the run. We haven't seen them from anyone other than Shadow King, where they've talked about they just have the problem with the new mutants. That's who but they're at war. Who are they at war with? We don't even know that yet. We haven't seen them up against anyone, really. But we do know in the comics that David does fight against the Sentinels. So who is this war with, other than the mention of new mutants? We have no idea. And if they're at war with just new mutants, wouldn't David be fighting with them, not against them?
In the comic books, the New Mutants are the ones that always stop Jack Wayne and Cindy, and they are the enemy of those personas. And they called them oh, what was that word? They called them a word used a while back. The oh, I can't remember. Anyways, the New Mutants are all that's usually the ones who were like the first enemies of Legion, so to speak. They're the ones that Professor X sent after him. So yeah. Oh man, even more stuff pointing to it being in his head. You see what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
points so much to it being in his head.
Oh, I looked up to see what other personas there was, just what I could find a list of. These are the other ones that I found just when I looked it up. It said Daniel Howler, which his stepfather. We got Cindy, Rodney, Ian, Lucas, Fenya, Jack Wayne, Boris, Zachary, Sylvester, and Karami. That's just who's listed as main personas. Start playing with them in the show. Oh, and
Yeah,
don't forget the cute little alien that says, "I'm the good one."
well, that one doesn't matter. He didn't even last that long.
But he was adorable, though. I want to see him just because he was adorable. I loved him in the comics. He was just so sweet. I liked him.
I don't know if they're going to put an alien on there. That might kind of kill the credibility of the show.
To me, it was like a little ET looking guy, too. So, yeah, that'd be funny if they did put like a little ET guy in there just because. But and then he did have the little girl at one point, too. And she was like, what, the one that was probably, I guess, the only one that wasn't non-violent,
Sammy.
you know?
Sammy.
Yeah. Well, see, I thought it was
kind of violent. Oh, Sammy's the one that got out. I mean, all they had to do was make her upset, and she stopped. She stopped doing what she was doing. Like, they were having trouble with her, but when they hurt her feelings, that's her weakness. That's why I think it's Lenny, possibly, because Lenny seems to act that way. And I don't think they're going to have a little kid inside David's mind in this really dark TV show that's on cable. That's just my opinion. Hey, I could be. Well, I am crazy. It's in my name.
Oh, we're all a little crazy here. That's what makes it so wonderful. Be yourself. That's the most wonderful thing in the world. Don't try and be someone you're not. And everyone's crazy. It's just what degree of crazy you are. Own it, honey. Well, okay, so we got the different realities and everything. So if we are in David's head and most of the time, and we are in the comics, that's another thing too. If we're mostly in the comics this time, if we're mostly in David's mindscape in the comics, and we look at the TV show the same way, like we're mostly in the mindscape there too, it just makes you wonder, what is actually reality there? What do we take as real? Is there anything that's real? Would you say there's anything that's real? Is there anything that holds real to you?
Well, I mean, are your thoughts real?
Yeah.
So then, yeah, it's real. But
when you got
it tangible?
Davis, this is the character of David. Like everything, you just again, like what Johnny B's been saying throughout the entire stream, it can all be in his head. So it's like at that one moment, it's like, is it though? Especially like when the Shadow King, created that Summerland, not Summerland, the Clockworks. It was just like Clockworks. It was like never like any new environment. At least within the second season, at least we go to like, the Vision, to then, the desert. That's about it, really. All of those
scenes in the comic books are in his head. All of you can find all of those scenes inside part of David's mind when they're going through David's mind, like the desert, because he actually pulled Utopia out of existence and put it in like another dimension when he was in a coma one time, right? If I'm not mistaken. When Magneto was the leader. Yeah. So, but then you're right, BBM. Is it? Like, see, we got to do another rewatch, I think.
See, this is why we get on Rabbit and have a little group rewatch, because we can sit there and talk about it when we're discussing. Speaking of CoHosts, did you guys happen to notice the tree guy?
The tree guy where?
Yeah, the one
really?
inside the vines, like behind the vines. Yeah.
Like, man.
The first season?
Yeah.
It is a crazy patient.
I think it agreed, man. I was like, he's next to me at Raven. Oh, that's when you know way too much on you're way too much involved. Everything is just somehow connected. It did. Oh man, it made me wonder if that was the same actor that played Admiral Fukuyama. If it's his way of like getting some FaceTime. Think about it. The whole season 2, he's walking around with a basket on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just weird. Who would he parallel, do you think?
From what I've heard, like he does that so it doesn't be like a whole pride thing, or he doesn't want to be known as individuals like power. So I know like there were some individuals in Japan who did that. So they were like, okay, we're gonna do that with same thing with Admiral Fukuyama. Sure, like he's not after power, but he's there to help.
Is he there to help?
Isn't it supposedly? But when you look at like the season, it's like, what is he doing? He really didn't do anything to help, really.
I think he's a representation of someone.
Autonomy, that's about it.
I think he's a representation of someone in David's mind, trying to figure everything out and watching everything that's happening. Even though we know what can happen in the astral plane and what can happen in someone's mind can feel and be real. So that's why, I don't know. The wormhole. Go ahead, help me out here. I'm dying.
I know you. I was about to say you cut out a little.
I'm sorry. I don't even know what I said. I'm just wondering if he is someone like that's inside David's mind trying to figure out what's going on. If he's like the person there, because he's trying to see everything. But see, then I don't know. There's so many questions about Admiral Fukuyama. You kind of get his backstory, but
he seems to be older than David.
Yeah, it's something's odd.
Well, and you bring up his backstory too, actually, and we see his backstory. He was recruited by the division, and he was recruited because of his ability to heal, and that made me think of Wolverine actually. And how he heals, and they got him so that they could essentially turn him into a computer and just to watch stuff. And like where we see Clark with his cane and how he's got the cameras in it, and then he starts covering it up later so that they can't see what he's doing and where he's at and all when he's inside Summerland and all. Remember?
True.
I want to bring up where AU actually said something about pain being real. And that reminded me about, and that's a really good point. Pain is real. And remember when David, we see him, he does experience a lot of pain. He's actually put through a lot of trauma in the comics and in the show. And, but we see on the show, for example, when he's in his little, and I like to think of it as like a little mini Cerebro, but he's in his little ball, and when Girl Carrie is kind of doing the plugs and stuff, and he gets zapped a few times, he's actually feeling a lot of pain. And so that's one time he's definitely feeling some stuff. Another time that's really important to bring up is the pain that he feels from Sid, and what that is essentially going to do to him. That is pretty much going to be, I think, what's going to turn him. And I've said that before. That's my whole beef with her, is she's what is going to break him. That's what's going to turn David. That's what's going to do it. That's how he's going to become Legion full on, is because of the pain he feels, because of the heartbreak, because of the betrayal, because of all that she has caused.
Oh yeah, you mean Cindy, the rebellious persona that's likes to take control in David's mind that you just described? Oh, I'm sorry, Sydney. Yes.
No, Sydney, the trifling.
I agree.
Trifling blonde, you know, with the gloves that likes to lick her hands when she's a cat. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
The court pretty much foreshadowed it. He was like, you know, it could be you're dating the man who can, you know, bring destruction to the world. So be careful you don't do anything. Like so much pressure on her. Next thing you know, she kind of was.
And you guys notice how Melanie completely manipulated that whole situation to get her to feel like that. Like she was okay. She was all I'm going after my man. I'm going to go get my man. And then Melanie just twisted that whole thing around to how she felt, basically. She turned her pain into Sid's pain.
Yeah, but that was Farouk manipulating Melanie.
Not before. It was before that. Because then she was
like... No, but he had already sowed the seeds.
True.
That's
he had
the
already
delusion.
sowed the seeds and her doubt. Yep. It's like an egg. Blah, blah.
Yep. That's where the delusion comes in.
With an egg.
Yeah.
And that answers with the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
I don't know. It starts with a hairline. I know that much. Let's keep it going, Vivian.
Oh, you guys are forever. I keep telling you, the bald guys are sexy. Let it go. Let it go.
Maybe mine and Vivian's hairlines unite to form. Go bots. Oh, gosh.
Go bots. Oh, Lord. You couldn't even do Transformers. They had to go all go bots. You hear what I have to listen to, guys?
I had to be corny. I didn't want to say Transformers because I didn't want to have a hair transformer. So I didn't want to diss the Transformers.
He's like, I'm not going to do that to Optimus Prime. Come on. Okay, I'm going to give a few shout outs real quick. I want to thank Live in My Rhapsody. Thank you for coming out. Cammie, Terry, Marie. Thank you, Game of Theories with Marie. We got AU Pack Mule. I can talk. Milt stopped by. We had Reese, Kenzie. Thank you, Mackenzie Burns. Who else we got? Of course, we got my wonderful co-host, Johnny and Black Man 94.
Did you get Dog Sidious?
Dog Sidious. Yep, there you are. I was on it. Brandon, thank you for coming out. And that's my wonderful husband, by the way. I love him very much.
Terry T.
Who else? Yeah, Terry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terry, for coming out. I thought I already said her.
I can't remember.
I know I'm going through them. Anyone else I forgot? Thank you so much for coming out. If I forgot you, I apologize. Bear with me. It's my first time. I appreciate you all. Thank you. If you haven't already, please sub. We're going to start doing a lot more stuff over here. This is my first time actually hosting. And yeah, we're going to do a lot more Marvel, a lot more everything actually, because we got a lot of just cool geeky stuff to talk about. You guys want to give any shout outs? Because we're going on 2 hours now, so yeah, you want
to sure. Shout outs to Milt and I. We're part of the whole Citadel of Trivia. I believe this week is going to be Milt and Felicia. They're going to do Jeopardy. I'm not sure what's the topic until like the promo comes out, which is pretty much Thursdays is normally when the promo comes out. So I guess that's how we can get to know the next topic. Any shout outs for you, Johnny? Because I know you're going to be in like a whole bunch of streams by the end of this week.
Yes. Well, I think I'm going to take a break this weekend. I should be out of town. So tomorrow I have 2 streams. Shout out to Lawrence Corner and John St. Baptiste. We'll be streaming tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about the religions of ice and fire. And at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll have Milt K on and Mackenzie L. Burns. Check out Mackenzie's channel. It's really good. And we'll be talking the geology of Winterfell. Milt will be doing a presentation all snobby like he does, you know. But it'll be awesome. So come check it out.
And I will definitely be there for that because I'm always down anytime Milt's talking about anything. I love listening to him just geek out. He's just brilliant. He's really brilliant. And yes, definitely, please come sub to my brilliant co-host. Amazing. TBM does some cool reaction. I love watching his reaction videos. I just need to catch up on some of them. Oh, yeah, I need to go bench some Arrow. That's what I need to do. I need to step away from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a moment and go finish Arrow. That's my new goal. I'm going to do that tonight, I think. And go check out Johnny because he's doing all kinds of stuff. He's all over the place. You guys probably already know that. I'm sure you do. And I'll see most of you guys already on Bangers on Hangouts. I thank you all for coming out. It's been a great time. I've had so much fun, and we will definitely be doing this again. Everybody have a good night. It's been wonderful. Any last thoughts? Final thoughts? Tell me, who do you guys want to see? Just give me one mutant that you'd love to see.
Give me Toad. Give me Toad.
Ooh, interesting.
What? No, I'll just go say Magic, just because. That's what I gotta see. Gotta see that, but it's gonna be hard. I don't know. Maybe she can translate from New Mutants. I don't know. But I have to see the Psyblade. Go ahead.
I think you'll probably get your wish. I think you'll see Magic. I think she's most likely to pop up. Toad, I don't know so much. That'd be very interesting just because, I mean, he's just kind of badass in general in his own right. Me, I'm just an Xavier fan. I want to see him. I think we're going to see him. That's a given. Who I'd like to see just because I think as far as the Legion storyline, it'd be really cool. I say bring me on Rogue. I'd like to see some Rogue. That'd be kind of awesome.
Yeah,
again, you guys, I thank you guys for joining me. You concur? Oh, why? Give me a reason.
I just always loved Rogue since,
okay.
If you ever watched the X-Men animated series, I mean, she's like the best. And then her in the comics is awesome. So just to come back, I just love Rogue, and they bring her in with a Cajun accent. That'd be pretty awesome.
I agree. They need to do it right, though. They need to do it right. That's exactly it. All right, I'll go for that. Definitely. All right. I thank my wonderful co-host once again. And like I said, guys, we'll be doing a lot more stuff around. Thank you so much for joining me for my first time streaming on my channel again. And you guys have a wonderful night and a blessed week. I'll see you guys around next time. Have a good night.